Hey y'all, want to do a quick update on the disassembly of this little A70. Never worked on this kind of gear before, and I know some of you guys live and breathe this stuff and are like, oh my god, you don't know how to take this apart. You know, I was sent this thing blind. I work on tube gear. I wanted to swap in some op amps, and I didn't want to break it. And when I first got it, tried to take the knob off, and the knob felt like it was super stuck on. And given that it does this little on-off switch thing, I didn't know if the knob was made as part of the switch, or they glued them on, or what was going on. And I didn't want to destroy this amp before I even got to test it. So, I've since learned that the knob isn't stuck on. It's just on there really good when it's first assembled, or first try to disassemble it. It feels really stuck. But now that I've taken it off once, it does pull off with a little bit of effort. Then you come in here and take these two screws out of the bottom, like this. Then you get a little pair of pliers or something similar and remove the nut off the volume knob like that. And then get that little washer off like that. Then we come in here on the back and we're going to take off these 4 outer screws like this. And the advertising for the amp does say, hey, here's these op amp sockets, and nowhere on their website or on the manual do they explain how to open the amp up. And like I said, I didn't want to destroy this thing before I had a chance to listen to it. And I was going into this thing blind. And I'm sure some of y'all are much smarter than me, and that you just know this stuff when you were born. But hey, some of us have to learn. That comes off. And that slides out. But then before you can separate the boards, because this is captured, we are going to have to take out these other screws as well. I was thinking maybe we could separate the boards without having to remove those screws. But looks like that is not the case. We get this back plate loose like this, then we can separate the 2 boards, and then you can get to your op amps. And again, these just either pry out or use like a little removal tool, pull out the 8-pin ones, and make sure the number 1 on the op amp is lined up with the number 1 on the board. As you can see, there's number 1 on the dip socket, and there's number 1, or this little gold colored little stripe here indicates where number 1 is on these little Sparkos op amps. And then to reassemble it, just make sure that you get those things lined up. Put all the screws back in the back, and then before you start screwing all that together, make sure that you get this sitting flush. And then the screws that hold these jacks on look like wood screws. There's some that look like machine screws. Don't get them mixed up. And then the ones that go in the bottom are a little smaller size, so it'd probably be smart to keep those separate. And again, never claimed to know everything about every subject on the planet. And I apologize for anyone that got led astray by my previous video on how to take this little thing apart. And I know some of y'all delighted in posting rude insults on my other video, which just appears how the internet works today, given that you can sit behind your keyboard and personally attack people with no repercussions. But hey, I've just kind of learned that kind of goes with the territory of being on YouTube, and it's always the people that have zero videos and have done nothing to help the community that post the most rude and hostile comments. Okay, so if you look here, you've got the vents. That's the back of the case. And there's a couple of slots here that you have to line the boards up with. So just make sure you get those lined up. That slides in. And then the front section with these long brass things slides in. Then we come in here. Then you have to wiggle the screws around a little bit to get the screws to line up with those little brass stands. But it's not super difficult. I wouldn't tighten any of them until you get them all started. And snug them down. Just like that. We got these two little screws in the bottom. For some odd reason, these screws have a different Allen wrench size, which, just a suggestion to the manufacturer, why not just use the same one for all of them instead of having two different ones? Would make working on these simpler for some people that may not be the type that really work on this kind of stuff. Which, then you put the nut on the shaft there, and then we use the most hated tool on the channel to tighten that little nut up. Be careful you don't slip here and scratch the powder coating, and then turn the knob all the way down and stick it back on and get it where it's even in both directions, like that, and you're done. And again, apologize for not knowing the knowledge of how to open this thing up from birth. And yeah, I learned stuff too. So again, thanks to you guys that did kindly point the right direction, and for all you guys that posted super rude comments, congratulations on being banned from the channel. Anyway, hope this helps you guys get into this little thing, and have a great day.